We must take a look at some of our failures as a society. We will start with the wars on drugs, gangs, violence and poverty. In the United States, the wars on drugs, gangs, violence, and poverty have been a losing battle. When has there been a full effort to have God take control of the situation? God has been mentioned from time to time about being the solution to the problems, but there was little being done to bring him in. We need to understand that God is the law. He is the formula algorithm of everything. Everything is based upon God's law. God will bless or curse us, based upon the law. Since God made everything and is in control of everything, does it make sense to allow God to take control of our lives? This can be very hard to do. We must pray to God to help us to allow Him to work through us. We must do everything for God and in the name of God. We need to remember that we were created in the image of God. Just praying to God for help does not work well. We need to work completely with God to fulfill the image. If God is working with us and through us and is in control of the project, how can we fail? Sometimes, we have addictions to things that destroy us, our relationship with others, and our relationship with God. When removing addiction, we can easily make the mistake of trying to do it for ourselves or other humans. It is best to remove the addiction for God. If we have the impulse to relapse, we must pray to God for strength. Remember, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. When we help others to remove addictions from their lives, we must do it for God. We must let God work in us in order to fulfill His good purpose. When there is difficulty, we will continue our work without grumbling or arguing. We will continue to have the mindset of Christ. We need to make sure that when we are helping the person, we do not do it for our own ambitions. With God joined to the removal project, the slavery of addiction will be removed. Much of the street crime is linked to drugs in some form or another. Drugs fund the gangs. Drugs fund the weapons. Drugs fund the corruption. Drugs fund the broken homes. Drugs fund the shootings. Drugs fund the poverty. Drugs fund the slavery of sin. We do not need anything other than God to work with us to liberate us from the slavery of drugs in our society. The next sin that needs to be removed is the street gangs. If we work with God to remove our addictions, we will destroy the economics of the gangs. We need to work with God to dissolve the remnants of the gangs. Many gang members do not want to be in a gang. Many gang members are forced into the gang slavery of sin. We need to pray to God to deliver us from gangs and for all gang members to be liberated from the slavery of the gangs. God is needed to fix the problem. Since God can defeat the devil, God can easily defeat gangs. With the drugs and gangs removed, economically depressed areas will see the full blessings of having the sins removed. We will be liberated to walk the streets. Houses will not be shot up. Our children can play in the front yard. We can use our porches again. Glass will replace plywood. Economic developers will enter the area with banks, groceries, and other goods. Jobs will enter the area. God's name will be glorified by the rebirth of the neighborhood. Since God can heal and bless nations, God can heal and bless cities and neighborhoods. If the United States kicks its drug habit, other nations like Mexico will prosper. The drug lords will have their funding cut and will not be able to fund the corruption, murders, and terror that plague countries like Mexico. Another problem that we need to turn to God for help is race relations. In the United States, there is a problem with races being segregated. Although segregation is illegal, and the races are slowly coming together, we are not fully joined and act as one. The same goes for other places in the world where we have tribal warfare, civil war, class warfare, and hatred for other people in other nations. We must realize that we are sinning by segregating ourselves and stop the sin. We must forgive the historical sins that our ancestry endured. When we forgive and welcome each other as family, we will come together as one. Since we will be together in heaven, why do we continue to segregate ourselves on earth? The comment section is open for discussion.